Hi, Mike Kennedy, M005 Kennedy with you. We're at the head of the Fraser Trail. I have a guest walker with me today, the little man. I've got a carrier with me in case he doesn't make it. He unfortunately is old like me. He has joint problems like me. He has a heart problem, unlike me, which I'm glad I don't have, but so we may have to carry him back. Oh, there's our first mushroom. Let's take a look. Known mushroom. We have in the center there the false lily of the valleys with fruit on them, berries. We'll see what else we can find. I'm kind of looking for mushrooms this trip. Mushrooms are a whole nother level of things to identify. Here's another similar mushroom down there to the one I just saw. Mushroom identification, you need to be extra careful because, I mean, if you're identified just to identify, that's fine, but if you're identifying to forage, to eat, there's too many poisonous mushrooms. And the thing about some mushrooms are, as bizarre as this sounds, and some of the most deadly, you can eat them and you'll be fine. 24 hours later you drop dead. So you got to be really careful. Another plant with berries. I should have brought my book, Know Your Berries, Your Wild Berries. See some interesting things coming up over there too. Here's some type of plant. It almost looks like some lily of, Indian peace pipe type plant. I could be wrong about that. There's quite a few of them. There's a ring of them, not a ring, but an arc of them, I should say, around here. Let's go in for a closer look. Let's see. Let's take one of them up to look at. Wow. It's attached strong. Get it in focus. Yeah, it's got a root much the same as an Indian peace pipe, but at the end there are these round balls. This could be a further, usually Indian peace pipes, after the peace pipe looking stage, they basically usually rot. But here, this one has some bent over things that look like. So at this point I just have to say I don't know what this is, but I'm pretty sure by the texture of it, it must be a plant at least in that Indian peace pipe family, because of the feel of the stem. Looks so similar. There's a whole arc of them, a bunch of them coming up over there too. Here's another group of different mushrooms. You can say they have quite a different pattern on the top than the other ones. Okay, little man's found. He tangles himself up in a second. Okay, there we go. Off we go. It's nice and cool, so I shouldn't have to worry about him overheating. That's one reason why he's out today for a walk. He's finding, oh, don't pee on the partridge berries. I might want one of them later. Oh, more mushrooms. Here's some more mushrooms too. different kinds, much different top to them. Gee, I've hardly walked any at all, and I've seen tons of them. Here we have the plant, the Indian peace pipe plant. We have a couple masses of them here. The Indian peace pipes. Now these are actually a plant, not a fungus. They kind of look like a fungus, but they have no chlorophyll. So that means they can't make their own food. So I've got to look up. They have a special word for plants that do this, and I can't remember it. And I'm not sure whether they get their energy off of living plants or dead plants. We'll have to see. Right here, it looks like it would have to be dead plants. Here's a wild edible, if you can get enough of them, an acorn. They require fairly extensive processing, that is leaching, to get the tannic acid out of them. And a tip I've read is that the more of the acorn that's showing, in other words, the smaller the cap, the milder they are and the less tannic acid they have. So that's a clue for the ones that are easier to process. Over there, probably can't see them on camera, but I see two more bunches of Indian peace pipes. Oh, there's another one. And another one. Wow, the Indian peace pipes are springing up all over the place. I believe I read that there was a medicinal use for them. And maybe I'll read about that. I'm not confident enough with plants or the quality of the information about their medicinal properties to actually use them for that. Here we've got another mushroom just breaking the surface here. Of course, some people maintain that you should be a trained herbalist before you try anything. You know, you got to know all the interactions. In other words, they would say to never try any herbal remedies on your own. You have to go to a qualified practitioner. Another big bunch of Indian peace pipes. Oh, another bunch. They're just all over the place here. Now these ones, I don't know if you'll be able to see from the photo I took. These ones have definitely got pinkish stems, which I didn't see in the other one. May just be a coincidence. Uh-oh, he's found something. Something of high interest. He's got to decide whether he should take his little reserves of markers and put it there or not. Polite way of saying whether he should pee on it or not. And he decides not. Come on, little man, let's keep going. You're all tangled up again. Okay, he decides it is worth that. He's got several feet knotted up. That makes sense. As soon as I turned the camera on, that bird stopped making the noise. It's making a loud chirping sound. Oh well. You'll have to believe me. And I wouldn't lie to you. I'm not like the others. This is a completely unscripted wild adventure. Nothing, no simulation of situations. Nothing has been put in place by producers so that I can demonstrate skills. It's just all random. There's another little mushroom there. And the shows are heavily scripted now, and sometimes when there's not drama, they make drama. You know, there's two people, they argue between each other when they don't need to. They go down some small, you know, 15-foot thing, and they use a wide-angle lens and make it look like it was a 30-foot drop or something. But I guess I tend to ignore those things. Sometimes I can't help it and I just laugh, but I try to ignore those and just look at those shows as demonstration shows only. They may be demonstrating something. My wife and I watch, I'm almost embarrassed to admit I watch this show, Naked and Afraid. And we thought at first it was, you know, stupid. It was a worthless show, and, you know, it was just there for the thought of you got two naked people together. But, you know, they blur out all the parts, you know, privates and things. But the interesting part of the show is to watch the human psyche, how quickly some people break down, and then sometimes regather their strength and go on. I must admit, one of the shows recently I learned something I never knew, and that was how to make shingles out of bark. They were in this area with a lot of rain, and they had a eucalyptus tree, but I think it would work with other trees as well. Certainly would work with a large birch bark tree. They cut sections out of the tree, the bark, peeled it off, and then they used those as shingles. So they made a really waterproof roof for their shelter, which in the area they were in was really important. Most of the areas they've been in are tropical areas, but what usually happens is they get cold, especially at night. And if you're naked, you need good shelter. The rule of threes applies. You know, 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. That's just a general survival rule, but that tells you right off if you're breathing. I mean, it does depend on where you are to some extent. Your first priority is a shelter, and that means if you're on the move for some reason and not staying in place, which they usually advise, you would be thinking about getting a shelter ready. And if you are moving, you'd have to stop early enough to get one made. Here we have some more mushrooms down here. Different mushrooms here, inch or so across at the most. You can see the color, and they're mixed right in with a largest patch of wintergreen. No flowers, no berries. But more mushrooms. Oh, there's another little kind there, a little white one. Oh, I just missed getting something on film. A cat walked onto the trail and took a look at the sway and immediately darted off. Little does he know this little dog might be more afraid of a cat than the cat is of a dog, I don't know. Although little dogs tend to be quite aggressive, trying to make up their size with the amount of bark and aggression they put forward. Oh, here's a big patch of mushrooms. Well, before we go to the big patch, this one's different, so we're going to look at this one first. This one's about 2.5 inches across, distinctly got a brown color to it and lighter edges. Now over here we have, well, to be fair, these look like they had brown centers too and white around the edge, so this may be the same mushroom, but just a little further along. There's more of them over here. Yeah, I bet that is the same mushroom. Could be. Gee, I've only walked, well, I can see where I came in, that light spot down there. So what is that? Gee, I don't think I've walked 300 feet, and I've seen all these mushrooms already, so that's a little different. So I was disappointed the first part of this year. We had a wet spring, but I guess it never dried out enough because I didn't see that much for mushrooms. But now, here in the fall, I'm seeing quite a few of them. We really had a real soaking. We had one rain that was the third highest record ever for the Portland area, and it was 6.65 inches, I believe. And so we've had some good soaking rain, and then it dried out, and that triggers mushrooms. Okay, here's some more. Well, this looks more uniformly gray, that color, than the other ones did, but... And there's some more over here. Now this walk is very good for my back because I'm bending down and up, which helps loosen my poor old back up, but it's funny, I'm taking a blood pressure pill in it. Oh, I forget the word for it. Do they call it stasis or whatever, that feeling you have of like dizziness or vertigo when you go down, you stand up from a kneeling position or a sitting position, and unfortunately that medicine magnifies it, so I have to be a little careful here. I'm so glad I have, this is my lifesaver, my hiking staff. You can see a separate video on it. Oh, look at this over here. The previous plant I was talking about that looked sort of like Indian peace pipes, it wasn't. It's just all over here. I would say in this little area, oh, they go way down the hill too. Oh, there must be 100 of those plants, whatever they are. We'll find out, try to. Uh-oh, someone's dawdling. Are you getting tired, little man? Do you want to come up? Or do you want to keep walking? One thing I like is the... Oh, you coming over to me? You want to come up? Yeah. Let's get him. I have the little carrier. He's going right in it. It looks more, the little man looks more like I'm carrying around a woman's wig with me than a dog. But he's tired out, his poor little, not hip dysplasia, but he has something wrong with his joints where they come out of joint. And like I say, he's got a heart problem, it's humid. So we're more than glad to give him a rest. He still gets to see everything. Here's a view from his vantage point. Oh, there's all the moss. I just saw a tutorial on making a moss terrarium, which I think I'm going to try to do. The home goods store near us just has a multitude of glass containers, and I think I'm going to get one. My original plan was to have more of a center place plant in it, and now I think I might just do a small one with moss. Another mushroom. This one's decidedly different. I mean, it looks like the cap has pulled apart to reveal kind of this texture on the top. Pretty looking mushroom. Well, for such a short trip, I certainly got to see quite a variety of mushrooms in that plant that wasn't Indian peace pipes, but kind of looked like it. Intrigued me quite a bit. I'm going to try to have to find out what that is. Whether it was a plant or whether it was a fungus. I think first, my logic here is first, I'll look in the Indian peacepipe family first and see if there are some relatives, because it appeared so similar in regards to the stalk, although of course everything else was completely different. Oh, here's another mushroom. You'll see some random pictures of some other mushrooms that I've taken on my way back. Anything I see that I missed the first time. Which, you know, if you have your eyes open, I find that you always see something again. There's just too much to take in nature to see it all. And again, I probably harped on this, but I like doing the same trails. Not that I don't like new trails too, but I found it very educational to be able to watch the same areas and how they change. Like I say, in the early part of the spring, I came down here once after we had a good soaking, and I thought, gee, we're going to see all kinds of mushrooms, and I didn't see one. Now here we are in fall, and we're seeing all kinds of them. I have an enormous patch of knotweed. It's starting to flower, although I don't know if it reproduces as much from flower as dispersal of the roots or branches. I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up. But a lot of places are trying to get rid of knotweed because it's so invasive. But the problem is you got to get every single bit of the root out. It's extremely difficult to do. Mosquitoes, that's the state bird in Maine, the mosquito. The little man's all hunkered down in his little carrier. Here's a fir tree. I don't know if this is a balsam fir or what. I must have a cold today because I can't smell it at all. I don't have a good sense of smell. I just found there's another person who, I don't know, they probably know hundreds of times more stuff than I do, but lives one town over, and they also take walks and photograph mushrooms and things. I'll have to see if we can get together and maybe go on a walk together. Maybe we'll each learn something, I don't know. He'd have to be up for a slow walk. Well, I guess this is Mike Kennedy, M005 Kennedy. We're going to end the video. You'll probably see some stills at the end, a few more mushrooms as we go along. But I'll encourage you, get out in the woods if you can and look at nature. Like my videos so they get shared around. Give them a thumbs up or whatever. And have a good day.